Hello everyone, it's Nick Lawson with cdc-TakeCharge software, and this is our 10th session on building an improved desktop for the Microsoft operating system. Well, the day's finally come. I said we would be looking at how to add and remove files from our file organizer, and that's what we're going to do. As you can see here, currently I have one file in our tracker. So I want to add a file. So I click on Add File. I'm presented with the next dialog box that has two choices: add a file or add a new document. We're going to say add file. Alright, click continue, and it pops up my add file dialog box. So I need a type. The only type we have right now is media, but we're going to do a word processing file. So I add my group, and then I click on my Smart button to find a file that I want. It's here in temp, and it's the shift journal code text, and there you go. Continue. Okay, so now it's selected, so if I click on open, there's what's inside. Very simple, very neat. Okay, now I don't really want to keep that file in there. I just said, well, I really don't need that file, it's not that important, so we want to take and remove it. So you have an option down here, remove file. If I select it, I get a next dialog box, and now my two choices are remove from table, your organizer table, or remove from computer and the table. We want to remove it from the table. So I choose that, I click OK, it's gone. Pretty simple. Now, let's say I'm a user, I just got the application, I'm all excited about setting it up, and I have a bunch of files that I want to track, but I don't want to add them one by one. So I have to go over here to my file manager, and when it comes up, I'm going to navigate to a folder. I'm going to put in a bunch of image files. So I'm going to click on mouse open. I'm going to go to Documents, Settings, My Folder, My Documents, and down to My Art. And here you go, I have a bunch of files. Now, I don't want to tag these one by one, so I want to take and click on Mouse Tags, and then click on the two dots, and now they're in my list. So if I click Copy and Add to Tracker, they show up in my to-do action form. All I have to do is select to do, or do it. It's going to ask me to give them all the same, or a group name. So I want IMAGE files, and this will be applied to every image that it adds to our tracker. There you go, it's done. And there are our image files. That's pretty cool. So let's look at how all that happened. Okay, first, button 5 is our button that adds a single file. Okay, it presents the X dialog box, which we've talked about before, and how to take and do it. Then let's look at the code down here. So again, as I mentioned before, all code or actions are tracked as if they're buttons. So a dialog button equals continue. Then we set a variable add choice to be equal to add new, which is our choice in our dialog box. If add choice is blank, then the application ends. Otherwise, it pops up our form, add file dialog. Now the add file dialog, if I look over here on my table, is actually a form that is bound to doc table. Therefore, when the user fills in the values, there's nothing else to do except to close the form, because since it's bound, it's automatically added to the table. Very simple way to do it. Next, we want to take, and if they're creating a new document, here's the code for doing that. Now we're not going to actually look at all this code today, but rest assured when the time comes we will review it in detail. Okay, next thing we want to look at is the remove file. And again, this now is the on event code for removing file, which is button 7. Once again, we present a dialog box. We have our choices, which are here, okay? I'm sorry, rather up here. And if the person says continue, their selection is added to delete choice. If they cancel, delete choice is set to blank. The application ends. So if we're removing from the table, it's very simple. We open the table which is current, so we don't have to do anything except tell it what records we want to delete. The filter we use is record number equals var r mbr. Well, where do we get this value? The on initiate, on fetch of our doc manager form assigns the record number value to the variable RMBR. So as soon as you select a record or the system selects it for you, the record number is assigned, and then we just say we want to delete that record number. Very simple. If we are removing it from the computer as well, then we have two things we have to do. First, we delete it from our table. Then we pop up a warning message. This is written using an HTML style dialog box. I don't really like it that much, so I will change it, but I put it here so you guys can see how it looks. Once we take and delete it from our table, we assign that value to CNAME. CNAME then becomes the variable that we use when we do our file remove. So as long as they say continue on their HTML warning, the file is removed from the computer. If they cancel out of it, it stays on the computer even though they deleted it from the table. That's it. Everything is pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and very fast in the way it executes. Okay, now the last thing we want to look at is the batch processing of the add files. So that's attached to our tag form view of our file manager on the button to do or do it. So let's look at that code. Okay, here it is. When they select Add File to File Organizer, List 2 is assigned the values of list source, which is everything that they selected from the File Manager screen. Then we have some our status bar text setting that we do. And then we pop up a simple dialog box that says give us a group name for the files that you're assigning to our file organizer. The default value is word processing. They type over it or they use it if they wish. Then it goes through and it does the processing. So the first thing we have to check for is that in our list, if there are any values that end with a dot or a dot dot, we don't want to process those because those are folder designations for folder levels in Windows, not files. So we tell it to skip over those. Then it processes our text and steps through one at a time and does a table enter, fills in the values in our table that we need to manage our files. When it finishes one, it goes to next, starts over, does the next one, does the next, starts over, does the next one. Very simple. And when it's done, it goes to X done, which redisplays everything, and we're finished. Again, it's very simple, but I will explain this code in detail because it's the more complex of the three that we looked at on our blog, which is at cdc-TakeCharge.wordpress.com. Stop on over. It'll be broken down. You'll be able to see it very cleanly and very neatly and copy it and use it as you need to. Thanks a lot for stopping by, and once again, have a great day.